Oh, and please start recording. I forgot. And let me just say right up top, thanks for the reminder, Heather. We will be recording today's meeting and posting it online. And also I have noticed that CTN has joined us. So each time you speak, if you could please start by just announcing your name, that would be very helpful. And to ensure a nice clean recording, if you could please also remain on mute when you're not speaking, that would be great as well. Thanks, Heather.
You're welcome, and thank you for the kind introduction. I'm excited to be at this meeting and to meet you or re-meet you, and happy Tuesday. So with that, I will call the roll. Melissa Morton. Jennifer Cavallero.
Here, thank you.
Thank you. Stephanie Bozak.
Here.
Thank you. Margie Girondo Marquette.
Here, thank you.
Thank you. Kelly Kendall. Aaron Levitt Smith. Kim Hirschniak.
Here, thank you.
Thank you. Amy Porter.
Here, thank you. Welcome.
Thank you, Commissioner. Thank you, Commissioner. Jessica Rival. Lisa Rivers. Michael Santoro.
Present.
Thank you. And Laura Watson. And apologies if I mispronounced anyone's name.
And I'm not seeing any members of the legislature on. If I'm missing you on my screen, if you could announce yourself. No, I don't see anybody. And also, I just want to say, as a quick reminder up front, that this is a meeting of the Long-Term Care Planning Committee and not the Long-Term Care Advisory Council. I know sometimes there's confusion between the two groups when we meet. So this is in fact a meeting of the Planning Committee, and it's admitting, just in case everybody makes sure they're in the right place. We love having advisory council members on and listening. We just wanted to clarify. Representative Steinberg, good morning. Thank you for joining us. I thought I saw him. Okay. So updates and announcements. I think we kicked off right at the top with the big announcement that we have our new staff person, Heather. And as you are all aware, although this legislative session was in fact a short session, it was an incredibly busy session, and a lot got done, particularly in the area of health and human services. And we were very fortunate to have Heather working on our legislative team and guiding us through the process. So this year, she actually took over the responsibility of developing the OPM Health and Human Services Policy and Planning Division's legislative update that we give every year this June. So I just sent everybody an emailed copy of the legislative update. It will also be posted to the Long-Term Care Planning Committee website after this meeting concludes. So with that, because so much happened, I'm going to turn it over to Heather to give a brief overview. We're not going to go through every bill that is pertinent to long-term services and supports, because I'd be keeping you here all morning. But Heather's going to touch on a couple highlights and is willing to take any questions you have. And before you start, Heather, I just want to see Representative Steinberg. Did you join us? I think we're having some trouble getting him into the meeting. Go ahead, Heather. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Melissa. And I did see Representative Steinberg here as well, but hopefully we can make sure that he can make comments. So nice to see you all. And as Melissa said, lots of legislation involving the long-term services and support system. And just to start off, I'm going in order of the numbers of the special act. So the first one is Special Act 22-9, which is an act expanding training programs for careers in healthcare. So we know there's a huge workforce shortage in healthcare. So this is tasks the Office of Workforce Strategy along with several partners of agencies and education and the Hospital Association to create a plan that addresses the workforce shortage in Connecticut's healthcare system, and also through different enhanced and expanded programs. In addition, coming up with a plan to work with high schools in the state to encourage people to enter careers in healthcare, and this particularly the high demand careers. So that's that one. Then skipping forward to Public Act 2257, this is several aging committee pieces of legislation. And the one I'd like to highlight is the issue regarding nursing staffing agencies, the temporary nursing staffing agencies. And so this bill requires that these temporary nursing service agencies register with the Department of Public Health, and that they set minimum qualifications for the nursing personnel that the agencies provide to healthcare facilities. So as I said, there's other aging legislation in there, but that was the one I wanted to highlight. Next, just skipping forward to Public Act 22-107. This is an act concerning a study to use captive insurance companies to reduce premium rate increases for the Connecticut Partnership for Long-Term Care insurance policies. This is also put in with a peer-to-peer car sharing bill, so I don't want people to be like, oh, it's a peer-to-peer thing, but it does also include the statute for reducing premium rate increases to current long-term care insurance policyholders. Then moving on to Public Act 22-140. This is an act concerning Department of Developmental Services recommendations. This contains many provisions related to Department of Developmental Services. And the one I'd like to highlight here is this one allows the DDS commissioner to require anyone applying for a job with an individual funded by DDS for self-directed services to submit to a check for substantiated complaints in the Department of Children and Families Child Abuse and Neglect Registry. Next on our highlight list, greatest hits here, we have moving on to Public Act 22-145. And this one is, this bill includes legislation regarding Department of Social Services. And this has a few items I wanted to highlight. The first one is the shortened reporting deadline for suspected elder abuse and reducing the timeline from 72 to 24 hours, the time frame in which reports of suspected abuse must be made to protective services for the elderly. Another component of this bill is Section 504, which is penalties for the unauthorized use of rate increases earmarked for nursing home staff wage enhancements. It allows DSS to assess civil penalties when those that funding is not passed along for wage increases. And then sections 505 through 508, this is the certificates of need for long-term care facilities. And this allows DSS to approve requests to build non-traditional small house style nursing homes under certain conditions. Next we have, and I realize I'm going really quickly, so please don't hesitate to jump in if you have any questions about any of these. So onwards, also we under the implementer, which is, I've got a Public Act 22-118, obviously a lot of legislation in there, but one thing I want to highlight is the contract approval for the personal care attendants, so that the negotiations concluded successfully and the legislature approved the contract. It's a 2-year contract, and giving wage increases, among other things, to the folks who provide care for the self-directed folks through DDS and DSS. So that's exciting that we had that contract squared away. And then Section 234, another exciting thing is Connecticut Home Care Program for the elderly is reducing the copay, yet again, down from 4.5% to 3% is the copay now. So it had been 9, then 4.5, now it's 3%, which is happy to report that. And then Section 235, the community spouse protected amount. So this raises the amount that a community spouse, when there's, as you know, a spouse who's living in a facility, that the spouse can keep assets up to $50,000. And in conjunction with this, it's not in the implementer, but there was a separate bill that is going to study what the cost would be to Connecticut of going up to the entire federal limit, the federal minimum there. So that was, and sorry, federal maximum. So that's that one. And then 244, 245, the ban on non-compete contracts. This is making so that people who choose to employ an agency employee, that there's no financial penalty that can be assessed, or charges or legal fees for people who choose to hire a care attendant or homemaker, companion, agency, former employee to work for them. So those penalties are no longer allowable. Then moving on to one more thing. There was Senate Bill 9, which became Public Act 22-146, which were revisions to the implementer. And the key one I want to highlight is the Community Ombudsman program. And this one creates a community ombudsman within the Office of the Long-Term Care Ombudsman. And there's funding of $98,000 to hire the ombuds person, and that will respond to complaints in the long-term services and supports system in home and community-based programs administered by DSS. It also will require that person to address any issues involved in their healthcare, helping with optimal functioning in life, and also hospice care, because that was part of the work group that looked at this, that many of you are familiar with the work group that led to this legislation as well. So that's the very, very quick summary of some of the items that are relevant to this group. And if you have any questions, I'd be happy to do my best to answer them. And I know Melissa's also happy to assist with that as well.
Thanks, Heather. You did a good job. You'll see when you read the summary, it's actually a 12-page summary. So there's quite a bit in there this year. So feel free to take your time. And if you have any questions after you get a chance to read through the document, or you think we missed something that's important, please feel free to email myself or Heather and I, and we'll do a revision and get it added in. And at this time, I'd also like to open it up to any of our members. Are there any specific bills that we didn't touch on in the quick select summary that was presented this morning that you would like to highlight, or things you would like to make the group aware of? No? Okay, well, with that then, thanks so much, Heather. Great job.
You're most welcome.
And so now I just want to turn it over to members to see if there are any membership announcements or updates that folks would like to share with the group. Go ahead, Margie.
Thanks. I did want to mention, Margie Girondo-Marquette from the Department of Aging and Disability Services, State Unit on Aging. I did want to mention that our department, like many other departments, is losing a lot of staff to retirements. The State Unit on Aging is losing about half of our staff. So I do want to thank everyone for their patience. We continue our business. There's plenty to do, and we are doing it. But as we transition and onboard new staff, I just wanted to thank everybody for their patience. And in the last legislative session, so in the budget, there were a couple things that we saw. It included $18.5 million in American Rescue Plan funds for our department. And the breakdown is $10 million for senior centers, $3 million for Meals on Wheels, $1 million for respite care for Alzheimer's. It included $4 million for area agencies on aging, plus a couple of individual senior centers also received funding. So that is a huge influx of funding for our department for American Rescue Plan funds. We've got other ARPA funds as well, And so we're working with our partners, the area agencies on aging, the elderly nutrition providers, the senior centers, and so many other groups just to see how we can best use these funds to meet the needs of these groups. And the budget also included a senior center position, and we have a liaison for senior centers and municipal agents right now, but it's not a dedicated full-time position. So there's funding in the budget for a full-time dedicated position to support senior centers. So we're excited to continue that on a full-time basis and a real dedicated and committed position. So that was one thing I wanted to mention. A couple things. And then I did want to say that we received public health workforce funds through the feds, and that came through our department. We received 5 different public health workforce funding awards through our state unit on aging, our assistive technology area, our centers for independent living, our no wrong door, our state health insurance program. So that was about $826,000. And the focus is on providing funding for staffing. And one of the things that the federal government's looking at is addressing social isolation. So we are pooling a lot of those funds to address social isolation with support of technology access. So we're going to be supporting 2 statewide digital divide coordinators through our assistive technology partners, and also coordinating with the Centers for Independent Living and their mobile tech coaches. And just to give you an idea of what we mean by tech support, like guidance and training, supporting people as they access telehealth, virtual platforms, support people on how to use their devices and connect. So anyway, thank you for indulging me on that long update, but we had a lot going on in the last couple months and wanted to throw that all out there. And I certainly wanted to ask Commissioner Porter if I missed anything that she wanted to add.
No, you did a brilliant summary there, Margie. Thank you. Lots going on, lots of, it's great to have the problem of having all this funding coming in. And of course it happens to be at the time when we have less staff. So, you know, we'll make it work.
We will. Thank you.
And I think just to piggyback on that, since Margie did such a wonderful summary of the influx of funds and all the great things happening at the State Unit on Aging, I think there was also money as well, or not money, but a Public Act 2232 concerning data collection for to prevent malnutrition among senior citizens. So you also now get to look at addressing the nutrition program as well. So
yes, yeah, and I will say that we started working more diligently on that last year with the malnutrition data collection. And we are already preparing what we need for the report that's due next year. So we are on that too.
Anybody else have something they'd like to share with the group? No? Okay. How about any members of the Long-Term Care Advisory Council? Is there an advisory council update?
Yes, hello. Thank you, Melissa. Hi, and again, congratulations to Heather. I'm so delighted to see you in that chair, and you've been such a tremendous help throughout the session, and then to see this transition, it's very meaningful because I know there will be a real strong continuity in the work and going forward, and that can only help to benefit our residents. So great call, everyone. And I want to start by saying, yeah, the Long-Term Care Advisory Council will be having a meeting a little bit later in the summer. I'm going to be narrowing down on the date. It'll either be in July and August or August, and we'll follow up with everyone about that. We wanted to see how this meeting went first and kind of follow along with the development of some of these pieces of legislation. I wanted to also echo a little bit what Margie is talking about. That's kind of been on the front burner for for us, and in a couple of other iterations of our work groups. You know, the $10 million for senior centers is a major win. You know, one of the other councils that I administer, the statewide senior center work group, one of our members described this 10 million as a leapfrog for Connecticut, where we are really going to be advancing in how we treat our senior centers. When we look at how they're funded, it's always through municipal dollars as the primary source, and to have state funding for that really opens up the door for some new innovation and new opportunities. And we're excited to figure out how that's all going to be working out, whether these senior centers are going to have to opt in for it, and to see how that all plays out. But ultimately, it's very exciting. The membership of that group, which is of folks from different senior centers throughout the states, they're all very excited. And furthermore, they're excited also about the aforementioned statewide senior center coordinator position that's been created. That's been a long time coming. That was one of the primary recommendations of the 2018 Senior Center Task Force group that came out, and that recommendation was echoed earlier this year by the statewide senior center work group, and working directly with the chairs of aging, Senator Miller, Representative Garibay, and then working particularly with Senator Austin and Representative Walker in appropriations to make that happen. That's a big coup to help also kind of streamline what opportunities there will be for our senior centers, because they're not all equally staffed, equally funded. And that's been kind of a big issue. And how do we help without overbearing, without too many overly burdensome mandates from above, because these are all local organizations, but how do we best share opportunities, share communications, inform about certifications and things like this. And one of the issues with senior centers is just that there's just so many different titles, so many different types of pay that really make it a little bit difficult to track. And so to have someone at the state level is really kind of the legislature in the state of Connecticut kind of taking a stand and planting a flag and saying, this is important. This is important because we have an aging population, and we really want to make sure that we serve them. And as we all know, with rebalancing and wanting people to age well in place in the community, having a robust municipal services, senior centers to offer programming to help with addressing isolation, addressing nutrition, and addressing, great educational programs and things like this. This is all very important work. And then finally, I just wanted to comment about how great it is that the Community Ombudsman Program also passed. You know, the language in that program is for up to 12 regional ombudsmans. That's in there, as well as 2 administrative staff. So I'm glad that that's in there. I know the funding is really going to be for a supervisor just to lay the groundwork and hopefully to allow for any potential future federal funds.
So Michael, I'm sorry, can I just interrupt you 1 second?
Certainly.
It was in the original Bill 55, you're correct, and then Senate Bill 9 took the 12 positions out.
Is that so? Okay,
Yeah.
pardon me, I misspoke because I did see that in the budget, and it had the 12 positions. So now.
Yeah, I don't know,
Can you
Commissioner, if you
clarify
want
that?
to, yeah, if you want to speak to that.
Yeah, right now it's just the funding for the one position, and as you said, perfectly captured that it'll help us set the groundwork in case there is funding from the feds, which we do anticipate that may happen. So gives us a chance to kind of look at other models, look at other states, see what they're doing, start to craft some of that without having to add that to the already busy work of our state long-term care ombudsman's office. So that it's just the one position at this point.
Very good. And thank you for that. I appreciate that really. And I do just want to say in either case, it is an important acknowledgement by the legislature. There was a lot of work that went into it. There was a community ombudsman work group. It was one of the recommendations for the 2022 long-term care plan. And a lot of people felt that that was an important item to have added as part of the long-term supports and services. In addition, for folks to be able to receive these, the option to access an ombudsman while in a long-term care facility, to also be able to access it while at home. So that's my update, and thank you all very much.
Thank you, Michael. Oh, yes, Andre, go ahead.
Yes, good morning. Thank you. My name is Andre Brel. I from Juniper Home Care, and I represent Connecticut Association of Adult Day Services here. Thank you for inviting me for the meeting. I share your excitement about the session. We are, part of the continuum of care. Obviously, we are happy. All our other services in the continuum of care get some enhanced, some funding and acknowledgement. We are very happy about it. We had our own, as an association, we had our own purpose and our own goal for this session, and we are working hard, and we thank you for supporting us. As you know, we try to make adult day services as part of Medicaid plan, and it was a lot of discussion. We were on the plan, but because it took some monetary questions, financial questions, what was been decided that is going to be a working group, which will include a representative of, I know Jennifer from Department of Social Services is going to be there. It's going to be representative of our association. All continuum of care representative is going to be this working group to decide about, how much, what's the implementation of this, what's going to be consequences of adult day services becoming part of Medicaid plan. But as you know, all our neighbors, New York and Massachusetts and Vermont, they all have this very successful, and it saved a lot of money for the state budget because, again, adult day service is extremely efficient and very, very, I don't want to use this word cheap, but very inexpensive service for people in need. And as a matter of fact, as an acknowledgement of our situation, where we are right now with providing transportation and food, and we have nurses and staff, we are getting some substantial amount of money from the it's allocated to us in the budget. It's going to be decided. We don't know what's the way. I think it's OPM is going to decide in a way how we're going to be distributed. But we are very thankful and extremely thankful for the legislature and for you guys for helping us to achieve this goal. And we are looking forward for the next year, because the next year is going to be probably one where our working group will make recommendation, and we are very hoping for the opportunity that we eventually and finally will become a part of Medicaid, state Medicaid plan. Thank you.
Thank you, Andre. Anybody else? Okay, is there any other business that members would like to raise at this point? All right. This group, I guess, continues to maintain its legacy of being extremely efficient. Our next meeting is set for September 13th. It had been discussed back at our December meeting, whether to resume in person or to maintain virtual. I think everybody, and I just am looking for reaffirmation that folks are liking the virtual platform. So we plan to continue that for the remainder of the calendar year, and we can revisit at the end of the year when we set the 2023 calendar. But for then, I just hope everybody has an excellent summer, and I look forward to seeing everybody in the fall. Have a great rest of the day.
Thanks, Melissa.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.